Welcome back, Zwifters, and congratulations. You've officially run out of flat roads to hide on. We're in the big smoke of New York City with Rising Empire for race 2, and after our beach holiday that was round 1, we've finally found some of that missing elevation. We'll break down the course, pick apart the segments, plot your strategy, debate bike choice, and suggest a few workouts that might just keep you upright by the end. So clip in, Zwifters.
And here we go.
This week's race is Rising Empire, 2 laps, 42 kilometers of distance and 755 meters of elevation. You'll be chasing FAL and FTS points on 6 segments. The New York Forward KOM twice, the New York Sprint Reverse twice, and the New York Reverse KOM. You guessed it, twice. As for power-ups, you get the Feather, the Aero Boost, and the Anvil, allocated evenly at random. So let's run it from start to finish. Leaving the pens, it's a slow drag up for the first kilometre where the road will flatten out and start to tend downhill. The pace will be pretty subdued as you descend down. The first pinch will kick in around the 3K mark. You'll hit the sky bridge, but don't stress, it's not a KOM segment. At the 4K mark, the road stops going up and flattens and undulates somewhat. There is a short pinch at the 4.5k mark for 200 meters before the road flattens out once again. Seriously, New York routes, if they aren't going up, they're going down. Reaching the 5.2k mark, there is another false flat for about 500 meters. Again, the road will be a bit bumpy here as it pitches up and down. There is a short descent for about 300 meters ending at 6.2 kilometers and another spicy kick. Keep your power and cadence high over this and recover with a nice flattish descent. However, it's cold comfort with the New York KOM looming in the distance. There is a short pinch at the 8k mark, but you and your group should roll straight over this. At 8.5 kilometers, the road turns left and the KOM segment starts at 8.6. There is a flat section about a third of the way up at about 8.85 kilometer mark for roughly 150 meters before the misery continues at 9 kilometers. This climb does pinch up to 17%, so make sure you hold on. Mercifully, the road flattens out at the 9.4 kilometer mark, but you aren't done yet. But recover now if you can, because at 9.5, there is a false flat leading up to the finish of the KOM. Reaching the 9.8 kilometer mark, the road again pitches up for the last brutal hit, and the KOM banner at the 9.9k mark. Enjoy the descent, you've earned it. Have some water and refocus because the sprint segment is coming up. At 12 kilometers, you exit the sky roads and turn right and begin lining up for the sprint. The sprint segment starts at 12.3 kilometer mark after some undulation. It's 230 meters long and kicks up at the end, so make sure you don't let up until you pass the banner. That kick continues for another 200 meters, at which point the effort should ease, but the pace will remain high with a mostly undulating deceptive descent. The road will start angling up at the 14.8 kilometer mark in preparation for the second KOM as you enter the sky bridge again at 14.9, where the road will reach about 6 to 7% average. Whilst this KOM is shorter than the first, its gradient is higher at an average of 6.1%. The climbing starts up again as you pass the KOM beacon at the 15.4k mark. Just as before, the gradient is as brutal as the first, but the climb is a little shorter at 1.1 kilometers. At 15.5, the road softens to around 5% before kicking up briefly into a false flat section starting at 15.6. It's a very short reprieve as the climbing kicks in again at 15.8. It's a very short reprieve as the climbing kicks in again at the 15.8k mark, reaching 8%. Again, you are rewarded with a short recovery point at 16.1. At 16.3, you're halfway done, but the monster part of the climb is still left. Another short flat section at 16.5 and you line up for the finish at 17 kilometers. Again, reward yourself with some water and maybe a cheeky gel as you coast downhill. Pick up whatever fell off during that climb and regroup because you're about to complete lap 1. Copy, paste, repeat. As for the finish, there is a final kick up to the banner. Get out of the saddle and don't let up until you cross that line. Segment strategy. Where do we start? There is so much in this course. that there are any number of possibilities. Don't be surprised to see a breakaway of riders after the start, especially heavier diesels and sprinters. They're going to want to get as much of a head start as they can before reaching the KOM. If this happens, climbers, you need to stay with them, which might be difficult on this punchy course. But I wouldn't worry too much, as something tells me that you'll have a few opportunities to catch them up if you are dropped. FAL is still king in ZRL, and that first climb is the important one. With fresh legs, those riders looking to dominate not only that segment, but the rest of the race are going to go hard. There's no two ways about it. New York forward KOM. Distance 1.3 kilometers, average gradient 6.4%. Use every trick at your disposal to stay with the front as best you can. Even if you begin to lose touch towards the end of the segment, keep pushing over the top. You might be able to catch on again on the descent. This is really 3 short segments with a flat spot, 250 meters into the climb and another roughly 800 meters into the climb. However, it's at the start of the 400 meter false flat, so keep your cadence high. Time your efforts and recover at those points before pushing for the finish. If you are struggling on the sharp bits, drop a gear or two, get out of the saddle and allow your body weight to fall onto the pedals. It can be enough to get you over the top. Power up strategy. Hopefully you had the feather coming into this segment. I would hold on to this for that last pinch before the banner. You'll pick up a bit of speed through the false flap, and the feather might be enough to keep you on the front or to bridge back if you're getting dropped. Using it before then might help, but it would be akin to placing a band-aid on a broken leg. However, if you are drowning, grab anything you can. As for the aero, there really isn't a good spot to hit this that will make much difference. Like the feather, leave it until the top and hit it before the banner. The extra speed will help on the flat part of that road. Got the anvil? Sucks to be you. New York Sprint Reverse. Distance 220 meters, average grade flat. On any other day, this sprint will be a no-brainer, but after a KOM, this is going to be difficult. Thankfully, it is short. However, with foul still the goal here for the front group, expect the lead-in speed after the KOM to remain high. Look to get into position as you exit the sky bridge and turn right. The sprint beacon is only 200 meters from that right-hand turn, so plant yourself squarely in third or fourth wheel and drop the hammer, and don't let up until the arch. However, for those sprinters that were dropped on the climb, this is going to be a different story. Sure, there are some foul points still on the table, but I suspect many of you will be looking to supplement your somewhat empty points bag with FTS as well. Timing FTS and FAL at the same time is going to be a legendary task, but this is how I think it could be done. If you find yourself in a group, you'll want to use their draft as much as possible, so stay on the back of your group as you descend the New York KOM. Power up strategy. If you have the anvil, hit this towards the end of the descent and pick up speed and smash it as you hit that right-hander. It's a longer effort, but the extra speed you'll bring into this will help. If you have the feather, jump on the back of those firing their anvil and hit your power up just after you pass the beacon. The road tilts up towards the end of the sprint and the feather will help here. If you have the aero, you too should also jump on the anvil train and fire yours as you pass the Tron horses on the left. Go full tilt and hope everyone else's legs are jelly. New York Reverse KOM. Distance 1.1 kilometers. Average grade 5.7%. The New York Reverse KOM is shorter than its ugly sister, but what it lacks in length, it makes up for in width. Much like the forward KOM, the front group contending this segment will be at their freshest at this point in the race, so expect some watt bombs. And like the New York forward KOM, this one can also be broken down into 3 stages. The first recovery point comes at 400 meters and is about 100 meters long. The second recovery point comes at the 700 meter point, but it's much shorter. The only other difference is the long drag at the top, with that false flat draining whatever energy you still have left in your poor legs. If you can find a little extra something to put into the pedals through this, you might just surprise yourself with a great FAL and FTS result. Power up strategy. Now, depending on your power up, here's how I would handle them. The feather. Hopefully you have this coming into the segment. I would hold this until the last section of this climb, which is arguably the steepest. It'll run out more quickly than you would like, but it will give you a bit of a push, and that might be enough to solidify your position in the group as you reach the banner. If you have the aero, leave this until you are about 100 meters from the finish. It will help on that false flap, and it might allow you to bridge that gap if you're getting dropped, or to break away and super tuck into the downhill. If you have the anvil, fire this right as you cross the finish arch. It's 15 seconds long, and it might just be enough left for you to go into the downhill. Extra points if you can put an effort in here to reach the front so you can get an early super tuck. Team strategy. Okay, captains, if you have the opportunity to stack your team with climbers, now's the chance. I wouldn't dismiss adding a diesel for the first part of the race to help ensure that the climbers reach that first com segment as close to or with the front as best as possible. Delivering your best climbers to the start of that segment is your goal. Everything after the first climb will come down to individual fitness and motivation. Should your team open a defendable gap over the first com, they will definitely want to keep the power on through the descent, at the very least to prevent the chasers from recovering on the way down. Having said that, there are 4 of these comms to contend with, and they don't get any smaller as the race goes on. Now, you could be forgiven for adding a sprinter into the lineup as well, to try and snatch up maximum FTS points through that sprint segment, but only if your climbers are beasts. Bike and wheel choices. As in my past recons, I'll provide both stage 0 and stage 5 bike choices. You should be leaning towards more lightweight or all-rounders for this race. Stage 0 bikes. I'd go with the S-Works Tarmac SL8, the S-Works Atheus, or the Cannondale Super 6 Lab 71. As for upgraded stage 5 bikes, the S-Works Atheus by a long way, Bridgestone Anchor, or the Trek Emondo. Special mention, the Tron. You probably won't go wrong with this one either. As for wheels, I'm leaning towards lighter weight sets that still have some aero advantage. Try the Zip 353 NSWs at level 24, the Cadex 42 at level 17, or the Mavic Cosmic Ultimate USTs at level 6. So if you do have the fully upgraded S-Works Atheus and combine that with the Zip 353s, you've got yourself a race winner. Workout recommendations. For this week's workout recommendations, take a look at Emily's short mix. Duration, 45 minutes. Focus, short punchy VO2 intervals with incomplete recovery. Why it works? This session hits you with a variety of efforts ranging from 15 seconds up to 3 minutes, around 120 to 130% FTP. It mimics the constant rhythm changes of the New York KOMs, steep ramps, false flats, and the surges. And number 2, the Gorby. Duration, 60 minutes. Focus, VO2 max, and threshold tolerance. Why it's perfect? This is the gold standard for preparing for Zwift KOM climbs. Each 5-minute interval mirrors the length and intensity of the New York KOM segments. It teaches you to maintain power deep into the red and then recover just enough to go again. So there you are, Zwifters, a ZRL race like no other so far in this season. Work as a team, but prepare yourself for some solo efforts. Whilst the comms are unforgiving, they will reward the brave who are prepared to go all in. Good luck out there, and remember, at the end of the day, we're all just racing in a made-up world on virtual bikes in our garages, sheds, apartments, and spare rooms. So have a bit of fun. Hit like, subscribe, and let me know what your strategy this week is.